Hello and welcome to Crop Circles and Parallel Universes. I'm your host Lynn Redlinger, and joining me today is Bob Schultz, local producer of a program called UFOs and the Paranormal. He's also a member of both the national and state mutual UFO network known as MUFON. From 1994 to 1999, he investigated crop circles and is a member of the United States BLT team that continues with crop circle investigation. He's a retired electrical engineer, and in his 30-plus years of work experience, he designed computers and computer equipment. He also worked on many top-secret projects for the Navy and the Atomic Energy Commission. Today's topics will be on crop circles and parallel universes. Welcome, Bob.
Nice to be here, Lynn.
Now, I don't think a lot of people know much about crop circles. Where do we start on our education here?
Well, I think we should probably start with astronomy.
All right.
Okay. So I've got some pictures to show here, and this is a typical galaxy. And I don't remember where it is, but it's NGC something or other, and it's similar to our Milky Way galaxy. Of course, we can't take a picture of our own Milky Way galaxy because we're in it.
Okay, sure.
But this galaxy is similar to ours. And galaxies are typically on the order of 100,000 light years in diameter. 100,000 light years.
These numbers are incomprehensible.
Well, traveling at the speed of light, if you could do that,
okay,
it would take you 100,000 years to cross our galaxy. Obviously, you aren't going to live that long.
No.
Okay. The stars that we see up overhead at night, with our naked eye anyway, are all less than 1,000 light years away. We can see further than that with telescopes, but all the stars we see are less than 1,000 light years away. So we only see our own little neighborhood. Let's say we were this was our sun right here. If that's our sun, we only see this little area right around our sun 1,000 light years away. This whole dimension is 100,000 light years.
So what we're seeing actually in comparison is quite close.
Right,
okay,
in comparison. So when we talk about crop circles, people wonder how they're made, and one of the theories is that aliens are making them. Now, we're not talking about aliens from Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Okay? We're talking about extraterrestrials that come here from distant planets. Well, if an ET were to come here, where would they come from? Let's just say in our galaxy, maybe thousands of light years away. How are they going to get here and still be alive when they get here if it takes so long to get here?
So they must have a different mode of transportation
Yes,
than we're
right.
used to.
And maybe we can talk about that a little later in our program,
all right,
about that different mode of transportation. But for now, let's recognize that probably ETs are drawing these crop circles, at least most of them. I'll say 90%, okay? Obviously, if it was a simple crop circle, a person could trample down the crop and make a circle. So let's throw up a picture of a simple crop circle here. This is one in Pease, Minnesota that was about 8 years ago. And it's a simple circle, about 50 feet in diameter, that is in corn. And inside the circle it looks like this. The corn is all the corn stalks are laid down flat.
Now, how was this discovered? Who found this circle?
Typically, the farmers find the circles.
Okay.
And then they notify their local newspaper, or if it's a bigger town, maybe a local TV station. And then, of course, that's how we hear about it in the BLT research team. One crop circle that we had just last summer, this one's in, if that paper will lay flat there. This one is in Cottage Grove, Minnesota. If I can get this paper to lay there. There, I think it's better. Okay. Here's an interesting story of how we heard about this one. First of all, our research director, Nancy Talbot, in Cambridge, Massachusetts, called us 2 weeks ahead of time and forecasted this. She said, Bob, you're due for a crop circle. You're going to have one in this summer. are you all ready? I said, I'm not ready, but I know a fella that can investigate it, but I have to go and I've already made plans to go on vacation, so I couldn't do it. So Dean was drafted to do it. Well, is it going to really happen, you know? Well, about 2 weeks later, Nancy got a message from the Crop Circle Connector website in Wiltshire County in England. And the message was rather cryptic. It was from somebody here in Minnesota. We don't know who sent it, but it said, circles in Washington County, Minnesota, multiple circles. And so she phoned me up right away, and we said, okay, well, how do we find it? It doesn't say where it is.
Yeah.
It's in Washington County. She said, well, look at the local newspapers. There's got to be a local newspaper in Washington County. And sure enough, a few days later, one of our researchers was reading the Washington County newspaper, and on the front page was a picture of this crop circle. So now we knew where it was, reading that article, whose farm it was on. We contacted the farmer, and he allowed us to come on and take samples and so forth. And it was on 2 of the local TV stations.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you go in, say you go in and take samples, what are you looking for particularly?
Well, we are told to take samples at specific spots. We're more or less the facilitator. We aren't looking for things ourselves. We are the facilitator that collects the samples inside the formation as well as outside for control samples. Mm-hmm. And then we send those to researchers that can analyze the crop itself and the soil itself. So Nancy tells us where to send them. Typically, there's Dr. Levengood in Michigan, but we've sent them to other places too. And he then performs all sorts of tests on the stocks that we send him, and we send him hundreds of stocks collected from many different sites within the formation. And we also send him soil samples, and he sends those to a laboratory, and they use a mass spectroscopy machine and look at the makeup of the soil and see if it's changed inside of the circle versus outside in the control samples.
What have been some of their findings?
Well, I have some pictures of some of the wheat stalks that were collected. Here is a really close-up of a couple of wheat stalks, and the stalk has a node, and this is the node area right here. And this node is regularly used by the plant itself to face its flower or kernels or whatever towards the sun, to pick up the sun. So it bends at this node to face the sun, like we know sunflowers turn around and face the sun all the time.
They follow the sun.
So this node has more moisture in it than the rest of the stalk. And many times when we're collecting samples, we'll see that the stalks have blown nodes. The moisture was heated up similar to like if you were to put it in a microwave oven, and that node actually pops and blows out. So that's one of the things we see. Also, we look for bent stalks. I think I got some pictures. Here's one. Here in the top up here are stalks that were from the control samples outside the circle, and they aren't bent, and the ones inside the circle that are bent. And if we blow that up a little bit, you can see the bend in them there. So that's some of the things that we find in the cursory examination. But then Dr. Levengood gets into more detailed. He blows the stalks up with a microscope, and he finds little pits in the cell structure. The actual cells have little air pits in them.
What does that indicate?
Well, he says it indicates there was a lot of energy involved. And I said, okay, well, how would you make these pits if we were going to do that ourselves? I mean, obviously trampling down a field isn't going to make little air pits in the cellular structure. he says, well, put the stalk in a microwave oven and heat it for 10 seconds. It would produce these little air pits that he finds in there. So he thinks there's something similar to microwave energy heating the stalks of this crop.
Okay, so the people that say someone made it, they're really talking about people going out and stomping them down, and you wouldn't see these
Right.
results.
You wouldn't see the cellular changes that he sees under the microscope. And in this particular case in Cottage Grove, Minnesota, the farmer, when he was interviewed on TV, he said the oats were ready for harvesting. And the oats would normally, if you just touch the stalk or move it a little bit one way or even in the wind, the oats would fall out of the shell that they're in, okay? And he didn't see any of that. He said if somebody had trampled this crop down, we'd have all sorts of oats all over the ground that had fallen out of the stalks. None.
Now, the farmer that found this, did he hear anything, or
No.
he didn't see anything? But
He didn't hear anything. He didn't see anything. We do typically interview people that live in the area to see if they've seen anything. Some of them are not too accepting of this phenomena, so they say, well, a bunch of kids did it as a prank. That's a typical story that we get. One of the crop circles I investigated up in Mille Lacs, I did find a neighbor who had seen something.
what did he see?
Well, the couple was out on their porch at night, about 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and they were reading newspapers, but it was a screen porch and they could see outside, and they saw this bright light descend, and they thought first it was the moon, but it was descending, and it descended down over some farm buildings, and behind these farm buildings, behind their house. And they both looked at each other and said, what was that? Well, I asked them, I said, can you determine exactly what night that was? And they said, well, we were watching this specific program on TV, so we know it was that night. And then I compared that to when the farmer had discovered the crop circle, and it coincided. And so possibly some ball of light came down and swooped over this crop circle and made this crop circle. But I don't know for sure about that. It's just that somebody saw that. It has been seen elsewhere in England. They've seen the same thing, balls of light coming down.
Now, you also said sometimes very elaborate crop circles appear in a very short period of time, too.
Right. We have, if you can zoom in on this picture here, it's very small. This is a crop circle formation here, and this is Stonehenge. This formation is about 300 circles, and it's about 150, 200 feet wide, so it's rather large. Okay, this is Stonehenge up here. There was a pilot flying over this area taking tourists over Stonehenge. He went over this area at 5 o'clock with a group of tourists, and that formation was not there. 5 p.m. He came back at 5:30, and cars were stopping on the highway, and people were walking out into the field to investigate this crop circle formation of 300 circles. At 5:30 it was there. Nobody saw it being made. No witnesses saw it being made. They all noticed it, and then they started walking out into the field. So within a relatively short time, with many people around, this whole formation appeared.
And that is a highway going right past there, too.
Right.
Okay.
This is the highway right here.
Okay, well, let's, if you have,
I got a
let's take
couple
look.
others to show. How are we coming on time?
It's just about to go to the next topic,
Okay,
so if you
okay.
want to just put
Well,
these up, we can.
Here's an interesting formation. This is a picture of an ET that's drawn with, the crop is sort of like scan lines on a television. And so there's lines going across of the crop, and the crop is of varying width that's laid down. So that forms this picture. sort of like a TV picture. But off to the side here is this disc, and blowing up, that looks like this. This is a CD-ROM. It starts in the center with a spiral and goes to the outside, and all these dots here are ones and zeros. And it turned out that this formation was in ASCII, American Standard Code for Information Interchange, the code we use to determine what all our letters are and numbers are. And down here it says the message, and I'm not going to read it exactly, but it says, "We are against those who deceive others." And there's more to it.
Oh.
But they're sending us a message in computer code.
Okay. Did you want to do that
Oh, well, we could
other one
show
quickly?
this one real quickly.
Okay.
This is obviously our solar system, our portion of our solar system. In the center is the sun, and a circle around it with a circle that represents Mercury, and then another one for Venus. Then there's a ring around that representing the orbit of Earth, but Earth is not there. And then further out right here is a ring representing Mars, and there's the planet Mars. And then further out here is the asteroid belt. Now, I don't know what they're saying here.
But Earth is missing.
But Earth is missing. You know, are we going to get into World War III and blow ourselves off this planet or something? I don't know.
Okay.
But it's kind of scary.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit then about who makes these crop circles.
Okay. I don't think we know the whole story on this. I know a little portion of the story, so I'll tell the portion I know. Nancy Talbot, the head of our BLT crop circle research team, and she's been doing this since 1990. In the last 5 years has been visiting a fellow over in Holland. His name is Robert. Originally he was 18 years old when she first started visiting him, and now he's about 22, 23. He has a peculiar ability. He is able to communicate telepathically with ETs that say they're drawing crop circles in his area.
Oh my.
Now, that just blew Nancy away, and she just couldn't believe that, but she was invited by his family. Robert was a teenager at the time. He lives with his parents. So she was invited to stay in the home, and Robert actually, while she was staying there, got a message one day that there were going to be a crop circle that night. Forecast, okay? And where it was going to be. So Nancy and Robert went and sat in that field that night.
Yeah?
And sometime in the wee hours of the morning, all of a sudden a crop formation just laid down right around them while they were sitting there.
They were watching?
Mm-hmm.
So they saw it?
They saw it being laid down, but they didn't see anybody doing it. The crop just laid over. They didn't see a thing. Now, I should qualify that a little bit. Nancy didn't see anything. Robert, he saw some, he called them orange or red balls of light that swooped down and went away. But Nancy didn't see that. So, not knowing whether to believe Robert that those balls were there or not, she says, well, how come I didn't see them? He says, well, I don't know why. But the next time this happens, bring your camera. So, again, this happened another time. It was the next year, I think it was. They were out looking for crop circles, and then Robert said, now there's some balls right over there. There was a crop circle they were investigating, and the balls were there after the crop circle. She says, I don't see them. They're about the size of a basketball, and they're orange or red in color. And he says, you got your camera? Take a picture of them. Well, where do I point it? Well, just point it right there. So she phoned me up after she got home, and she says, Bob, I developed my roll of film. You know, it's 35 millimeter regular film, not a digital camera. There were all those balls that he said. The film picked them up, but I couldn't see them.
Really?
So, interesting.
Okay.
Well, now this story gets more complicated.
All right.
Last year, somebody, last April I think it was, 2004, asked Robert, well, you communicate with these ETs. How come we can't see them? Do you see them? No, I don't see them, but I'll ask them if they can become visible. So sure enough, they said, we're going to become visible for you. It's going to be very hard. It takes us an hour and a half to try to do this. We live in a higher dimension or a higher universe, a parallel universe to you. Okay? This extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial appeared on Robert's couch there in the living room. Originally, it was a little ball of light. You could see through it. It grew and grew over a 90-minute period into the form that you see in that picture with arms and a face and eyes. And there it was. And they said, you mind if we take pictures? And, oh, no, go ahead, take pictures. Now I understand this past summer Nancy's been there, and she or somebody took a video of this whole process. That they appeared, and it's on video now. I have not seen the video yet, but I understand there's a video of this whole thing now. Now, those ETs said they were drawing the crop circles, that Robert was telepathically receiving messages that these crop circles are going to be drawn. They were drawn in his immediate area there. They didn't say they were drawing all the crop circles in the world or anything, just right in that
just
area.
there. And any indication why?
Mainly as a method of communication, that somehow we would recognize later what these patterns mean. And that's all I really know about it, that some future time mankind would understand how to translate all these patterns. That's all I know. Now, how are we coming on time?
I don't have any signals, but you might as well start talking about the parallel universes.
Okay, here's the book. Now, the cover, is it too bright? No, I think it's about right. Okay. Okay, this is a book written by Adrian DeVere from Israel. Now, how did I hear about Adrian DeVere? I go to UFO conferences, usually 2 or 3 a year. And I went to the International UFO Congress in Laughlin, Nevada in February this year, 2004. And Adrian was a speaker there. And he talked about communicating telepathically with aliens who helped him heal people. Actually, not only heal, but actually perform internal operations without actually cutting a person open. And he's a technical guy. He's kind of speaks my language because he's an electrical engineer. He has a BS in electrical engineering and an MS in computer science. So I love his book because it's kind of written at my level.
Okay.
And he's asked them, you know, where they were from, and they said, we're from a parallel universe.
Which means?
Well, he says, what constitutes a parallel universe? And they said, well, you actually live in 2 parallel universes right now, and some people can experience a 3rd parallel universe. The first parallel universe that you live in is what you call your matter universe. It consists of matter, you know, knock on wood, okay? That's matter. The next level up is another universe, and it's your energy universe. And we can't kind of grab a hold of energy, but we can experience energy. We can see light with our eyes. That's energy. Einstein has this nice formula, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. So the way you get from one to the other is multiplying times the speed of light squared. Then they said, some of your Homo sapiens can actually communicate telepathically. And when they do that, they're communicating in the telepathic universe, which is one step even higher. Okay, so how can we explain the difference in time that it takes to communicate in our matter universe, our energy universe, and our telepathic universe? We actually hear in our matter universe. That's 0.2 of a mile per second. We can see with our eyes in our energy universe. That's 186,000 miles per second, or about 1 million greater. And telepathically, when we telepathically communicate with other people, science today say it's instantaneously. but it isn't instantaneous. It's actually 1,000,000 times faster than the speed of light. So that's how they communicate to distant planets 10, 20, 30 light years away. It happens that they can do that at 2 light years per minute. That's how fast that communication, telepathic communication travels. So I think that's about enough, I mean, all we have time for today, right?
Well, we are winding down, yeah. Well, Bob, I know, even today we could barely narrow the topic here to get it down to a point where we could talk about it. There's so many aspects of
Right.
of
So
what
many
you
facets of UFO studies.
Yeah. And I know people, if they're interested, there are a couple places they could go to.
Right. You could go to our Minnesota MUFON website, which I think we have on the screen. And if you want to look at some of the crop circle reports that I wrote, you can go to that Minnesota MUFON website and click on crop circles, and you'll be able to read about some reports that I did and also that Dean did of the Cottage Grove crop circle. And then you can go to the national website too, which is MUFON, just plain MUFON. Ours is Minnesota MUFON. Then if you need to, contact me. My email is curiousbob@usfamily.net.
Okay. And I know you welcome questions, and
Sure.
would love to talk to people
Right.
who have questions on this subject, and maybe even get them involved in MUFON.
Yes, come to our MUFON meetings. We meet the third Saturday of every month at the New Brighton Family Center, Saturday afternoon.
Okay, great. Well, I want to make sure to tell you to contact Bob. Remember, it's curiousbob@usfamily.net. And I want to thank you for tuning in to Crop Circles and Parallel Universes.
Thank you.
Thank you.